Why is this still playing? All right, live TV, am I right? So I hope you guys grabbed your drink, you grabbed your popcorn because, well, now I know why it's still playing. Ah, live TV. So, like I was saying, I hope you grabbed your drink, you grabbed your popcorn because you may need it for this one because a crazy week is about to get a little crazier. All right, before we jump into all the bleeding latest news and some images I promised, we're going to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat because I appreciate you guys jumping on to this impromptu notice. I know I didn't give you much time. This isn't normally when I come on, but today is mine and my wife's wedding anniversary. And unfortunately, we have a sick kid. So those plans went on hold. So we're taking advantage of the time we have, and we're going to dive into some of this latest news. So, right out of the gate, Be Me, thanks for dropping by. He says the evil empire is behind Basic Fun, and his name is the Cornercade. Brooklyn Menace, cheers. Thanks for dropping by. We have Calvin Wong, and he is talking about the dueling streams. I believe the other Cornercade may be going on at 9 o'clock. We have Joysticks. Thanks for dropping by. And let's see here. Jason, the moderator extraordinaire, who thought he had the night off and then got surprised, but he's here. So hat tip to Jason. We have Stock Jock in the house. And let's see, who else is here? I know we got some folks lurking because I've gotten some messages. We've got Biggie D here. Thanks for dropping by. And Gramps Arcade, thanks for joining us. And Kevin Clausen with the $2 super chat, who says he's here for the legal perspective. Maybe we'll have some of that. We'll see. But thank you so much for the super chat. And Jason, speaking of moderator extraordinaire, with a $2 super chat, says he is here for the paranoia and the riots. Indeed. And of course, Brooklyn's always down for some of those. We got J Rod. Thanks for dropping by. Let's see who else. The Fist of Love. What a great name. Let's see here. Ted Adam Green. Always nice to see Tag showing up in the stream. Says, hope everybody's doing good, especially Jason. We got NASA Canes fan here. Let's see. Hayden Dew. Jabba's Game Hut. What a great name. It's gone 2 a.m. here, James. I'm sticking around for this one. Well, thanks for joining us. Whoop. We got Chris C. We got Goofy Foot. We got Stupid Fat Hobbit. We got the bad guy, Mike Worley. Thanks for dropping in. We've got Jason S. So, you guys, as you guys know, it's been a crazy week so far. It started off with that post I made earlier in the week when VMI inadvertently billed everybody on the night of May 31st who had split up their pre-order for the iconic arcade into two payments. Well, they confirmed later that night they were aware of the issue and working on it, but didn't see much communication after that. Pressed for more information. They did announce that they were offering anybody who wanted to get a refund of that second payment could get it, and then they would invoice them on October 1st to pay the rest. If you didn't and just wanted to be paid in full at that point, they said they would hold on to your payment. So they gave people a choice. If you didn't get your email, you may need to reach out to them because I don't think they just sent it to everybody. I think they're waiting for people to respond, which isn't really great practice, but at least they are responding and they are issuing the refunds for the second payment. So that's an update on that story. And NASA Canes fan with the $1.99 super chat says he's here for the facts, as Joe Friday would say. And that is right, NASA Cane fans. We are here with facts and just the facts, with some opinions sprinkled in for good measure, because if you're going to eat the facts, you got to make it taste good going down. All right, so let's get this on the stage. Of course, you guys know this. You know, Michael B reported on this bright and early on the day this article came out. Of course, Basic Fun, the company that came out of Toy Fair with a whole host of cabs, one that lit all of our eyes wide with all of the things that they are promising to bring to the home arcade. Of course, the big one, WWE Wrestlefest, right there, headlines the cover of this issue of Toy Book and the article in itself. Here you see it with the 4-player deck, the coin door, and that kind of shape reminiscent of Arcade1up Deluxe Mortal Kombat. That's when the rumors started, right? That's when we started hearing people saying, wow, these look identical to Arcade1up. What is going on? Here's more WrestleFest. I know you guys have seen all these pictures, so I'm not going to beat them to death or sit here and talk about them all night. That would be wasting your time. But here's the pictures just for those who may have missed the article. But, we've got this nice WrestleFest with the WWE logo, right? Minus the F. You can see it's minus the F on the mat. There's no E in there. You've got all the favorite wrestlers that everybody wants, including, those tag teams that were thought to be impossible, all on this cab. And it really does look good. Pay really close attention to these two guys playing here. More on that in a little bit. Then, of course, we also got a sneak peek at Centipede and a Tempest countercade, right? So more of some of the cabs that we've kind of seen before. The Centipede, we had that in a 3/4 scale from Arcade1up with the riser. Now we're seeing it here in what appears to be a deluxe riserless design. And we also have this countercade of Tempest. So say what you will about the layout of the controls on the Tempest. I don't know how well that will play. Very interesting. But as you take a look at the Centipede, we are going to have way more info on that. Like, would you guys be interested in the games list for this Centipede cab? Because I have that info. So we are going to get to that in a moment. Let's see. All right, more of this. Okay, so we're going to take a moment here. I'm going to pull this down, put me back up here. So before we jump into that games list, let's talk a little bit about last night. No, not the movie. We're talking about the Cornercade, who went live last night. I picked the one night this week to go to bed early, not play walkabout golf till 3 a.m, but to try to get some sleep. And lo and behold, the Cornercade goes live in the middle of the night. And normally that's not really news. He goes live all the time. In fact, he's going live here again for like the 12th day straight, I think, later this evening. But what was interesting is that Travis MCP, after 2 years of basically no communication, comes out and joins Danny on his stream. And of course, Danny is talking about an Arcade1up and Basic Fun Alliance. He says he's got an inside source that they confirmed that there's a 70-30 relationship. And, Travis is all in for that conversation, saying, I think some of those things make sense. The coin door gives him some confidence that they're likely working together. Very interesting. And so when you hear that and you see this news, when you wake up in the morning, it piques your interest, especially when, if you guys can recall, when we first talked about Basic Fun way back after Toy Fair, we kind of mentioned that it was really interesting that Basic Fun was talking about releasing countercades, releasing junior cabs, those baby cades, which were called Arcade1up Juniors. They're talking about releasing slim editions. They were talking about releasing their version of Deluxe and what sounded like their version of XL. And I said back then, this really is weird. Like, why are they releasing every single cabinet design that Arcade1up has? I said, could it be that Arcade1up is white labeling their designs to Basic Fun? And I just kind of threw that out there as an idea. And I think as we saw more and more of this, I think people have latched on to that idea that, look at these designs. They look almost identical. They couldn't get closer to uh, what Arcade1up was doing. And to kind of hit the hammer home, right? Danny had gotten a hold of this picture, what appears to be a deluxe, or what Basic Fun calls an ultra cab design for WWE Wrestlefest. And you'll notice right away the difference on this one is it's 2-player. There's only 2 buttons for each player, not 3 like the 4-player. And so it's looking different. There's no coin door. It looks similar. But if you look on there, there's also a remote control for an LED. So the source for this, who posted this on Facebook, was, and I'm going to butcher his name, was Alex Magalanes, I believe. And he's out in Canada, and he's some sort of sports YouTuber. So, sports social media guy. So if you're watching this, appreciate you watching it. And thanks for sharing the photos. Would love to hear how you got these photos at some point. But very interesting. And just take a minute here and says, Giovanni Sean sent a video to your email if you can show it. Actually, I will, Gio, and everybody will probably want to take a look at that. We'll wait towards the end of the stream here after we wrap up this content, because what Gio's working on is super cool. So you got this cap, and Danny premiered this last night. Got it, like I said, got it off of Facebook. Pretty interesting stuff. But this, combined with Travis coming out of the woodwork, all these things, was really, really interesting to me. So I started digging. And you know how I do. I like to dig. So some of the things weren't adding up to me. I continue to hear rumors that Arcade1up is not involved with Basic Fun, but these designs look so close. So I started asking questions. And, I think it was interesting because as I rewatched some of the parts of Travis on the Countercades stream, I think he kind of hit on it. He said when he first saw these cabs, he thought, well, they're either working with Arcade1up or potentially someone who used to design cabs for Arcade1up. Now, you guys know we've talked on this stream many times about the lawsuits that Arcade1up is going through. You had Arcade1up suing them, or Arcade1up. You had Atari suing Arcade1up for lack of payment on their license and royalty fees. You had ThinkUp, or what was ThinkUp, suing Arcade1up for breach of contract, royalties owed. And so you've had these various suits that Arcade1up has been the target of. But as part of that suit, we paid real attention to what ThinkUp was doing. And if you guys remember, ThinkUp, unfortunately, had to shut down. They had to lay off a ton of staff when this all shook out, when Arcade1up terminated their contract with ThinkUp. And of course, if you guys don't know, ThinkUp is the original designers of Arcade1up. They not only created the brand and the logo, they created the cabinet designs. They created the cabinet designs all the way up through the deluxe line. I don't know or think they were involved with the classic SEs, but depending on the timing of that, who knows? But certainly a lot of the deluxe line they were involved with. But that company is no more. The principals of that company have gone on to Wonderland, where they partnered with former people from New Wave Toys to build that pinball company. We followed them. We've reported on what they're doing. It's pretty cool, of mechanical home arcade pinball. And we got confirmation from them that they were not at all involved with this. So that's when I kind of stopped really thinking Think Up has anything to do with this, because many members of that area of the company, certainly the principals of the company, were like, no, we're not involved with it at all. We're focused on this over here. But as I mentioned, they laid off a lot of people. A lot of people worked at Think Up. It wasn't just a small crew. Think Up did everything from product design to packaging design to store layouts to 3D animations. I don't know if you guys know this, but Think Up actually had a children's YouTube channel for years that were based on 3D animations that they put together. So they have a history of doing all sorts of things and all sorts of design work. But when you put these designers out of work, they have to find new work. They have to find new people to work with. And I do have confirmation that likely one of these former employees is, in fact, who is working with Basic Fun. So it's not likely. I mean, my understanding is that's exactly what it is that someone who probably had their hands in the design of these cabs at some level of it is likely working with Basic Fun, which is why the designs are so similar. And that is pretty interesting to me. And so, as I continued to dig into this, I was able to get some additional info, and that's kind of where we are now, what we're talking about here. So straight up 100%, I can confirm Arcade1up and Basic Fun have no partnership, no arrangement. My inside source has confirmed this. It's 100% nothing to do with each other. So we can lay that to rest. They are not partners. And what you can chalk up to the commonalities is common designers. You have to remember, these designs were done by a third-party company, not by Arcade1up. Arcade1up's contract with that third-party company we've been through, there is nothing transferring ownership of those designs to Arcade1up. Those designs are not patented or anything like that. And so technically anybody could go make these cabs. And in this case, one of those former employees seems to have done just that, partnering with Basic Fun. And so these designs are likely intentionally similar, right? It's not just that's what they knew, but the desire to maintain the real look, the original look and feel of those cabs is central. So naturally, they are going to look similar. And since these people or the person involved specifically knows the manufacturing process, they're likely to be able to work with Basic Fun, who has their own manufacturing facilities, isn't going to be needing to use some third-party partner like a similar partner to what like Iconic is using, which was a former partner, I think, from what I understand. They're not, because Basic Fun already has their team. They already have their partners for manufacturing. And so it's super interesting that all this is coming down. And so, of course, my source provided us some additional info. So let's first talk about the games list, right? I'm going to jump in real quick, just catch up in the chat here. Bobby says, I have one friend who yells at his game. That's good. The new MG wants to talk about bathrooms. And let's see here. Calvin Wong says, well, isn't it also the same Chinese manufacturing company too? It is not. It is not in this case. Receipts are coming, joysticks. And inside source, only sauce James has is store brand ketchup because he's cheap. No, MG, I use Whataburger spicy ketchup. Milkman says, sneaky suspicion their partners are Nick Khan and Triple H. Maybe. P-Dub says, you're saying we won't see the TNA championship on Arcade1up programming. Biggie says games list. There's only a few ways to build an MDF cabinet on the cheap. You're 100% right, MG or Goofy Foot. I'm reading MG while reading your comment. So there you go. NASA Canes fan 499 super chat. Thank you so much. Says I figured Basic Fun and A1up were not patterned. Basic Fun wouldn't partner with A1up knowing Atari was annoyed at them. Yeah, that's a red flag, right? And I meant to mention that earlier, so I'm glad you brought it up, NASA Canes fan. Atari is suing Arcade1up. At least their lawsuit alleges unpaid royalties. Why on earth would Atari agree to sign a licensing deal with another toy manufacturer who is just white labeling Arcade1up? Why would they do that, right? Like, if they were mad at Arcade1up, they're certainly not going to rely on Arcade1up for manufacturing new cabs. I've also heard Atari really wants to stay in this space, that they're really interested in maintaining these 3/4 scale and similar home arcade cabs. And so some of this could be attributed to them saying, we like the designs, we like the way they weren't, we want to keep it that way. We don't want to change what isn't broken. So let's talk about that Centipede cab. So right away, I can tell you there is a plethora of controls that you can't really see all that well on the image that was released on the toy book magazine. Of course, you have a joystick. You're also going to have a spinner, and you have your trackball, you have your buttons. So very reminiscent of like the Arcade1up Atari 50th. But let's talk games list. So of course on Centipede is Centipede. You're also going to get Tempest. You're going to get Asteroids. You're going to get Asteroids Deluxe. You're going to get Millipede. You're getting Crystal Castles. Some of these sound familiar. You're getting Space Duel. You are getting Major Havoc. You're getting Missile Command. You're getting Gravatar. You're getting Aka R. You're getting Liberator. You're getting Super Breakout. And finally, you're getting Lunar Lander. So yes, the images appear to be it's a 4:3 widescreen from the appearance. So you are getting that. It's not necessarily vertical screen, but that's your games list: Centipede, Tempest, Asteroids Deluxe, Millipede, Crystal Castle, Space Duel, Major Havoc, Missile Command, Gravatar, Aka R, Liberator, Super Breakout, and Lunar Lander. Ooh, that's a mouthful. So while that monitor may be widescreen, what if I told you that monitor was 19 inches, not 17 inches? What if I told you that cab is a Supreme and it stands at 67 inches tall? Yes, here is a snippet of the package, and it is the Supreme cabinet XL size, 67 inches. That's 2 inches taller than the Pac-Man XL from Arcade1up. So this is our first confirmation that the Supreme cabs are indeed XL size. So XLs are not dead. Paul Mindeman, wherever you are, your first one is coming from Basic Fun. And of course, you guys see the games list on here. You see the Arcade Classics logo. This is indeed some of the packaging. I think you can even make out here up at the top. I don't know if you guys can see that. That sure looks like an Atari 50 logo, right? So Atari 50th branding on the package, but not on the cab. So pretty sweet. So again, I realize some of you are going to want that vertical screen. Sounds like a job for buy stuff, but in the end, we're getting an XL Atari cab, and it's coming with at least, what do you got? 10 games here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it comes with 14 games, very similar to an Arcade1up. So pretty cool. And of course, that's your first little new picture that I promised. Um, kind of proof that my insider knows what they're talking about and has some more details. So it's not the only one, right? We kind of talked about that photo that Danny sent. So we're going to get more into that in just a second. And let's see here. We've got Biggie says, wow, BOE monitor. So I don't know the exacts on the monitor, but you can probably count on it being a high quality monitor. Again, Basic Fun wanting to get this thing right, get it right out of the gate. Is there an Excel spreadsheet? Stay tuned, maybe in the sequel. No riser. Yes, no risers. You still need a riser if you are over 6 feet. Yeah, well, we're, we'll see. Like, I'm very comfortable playing Pac-Man XL, and that stands at 65 inches. So this being 2 inches higher, I'm not 6 feet, but I am 5'11", so 5'11 and a half. So I'm not just under 6 feet. So it's very comfortable for me. So yeah, if you're 7 feet tall, you're going to have the same problem every giant has. John Jay says, okay, everyone is going Supreme. Well, what you did notice is the Supreme does not, at least in that one markup. Let me go back here, bring this back up. You'll notice the Atari logo in this picture is a little smaller. And if I go back to this one, see that Centipede where the Atari is and a big Atari logo here. So, and this one doesn't seem to have a spinner. So we could be looking at a different cab here, right? This one could be maybe the Ultra cab and not the Supreme. Because as you can see, the Supreme, we got the smaller Atari logo. So who knows if that's just the packaging that's doing that, or if we're looking at two different cabs. It also kind of looks like this may be a bit thinner, but it's, again, hard to tell. You can tell this picture is distorted a bit from the angle that it was taken at. So very interesting, and you're probably getting a different games lineup list there. Paul getting the call out. Let's see here. How many Supreme cabs can I fit into a bedroom? Good question. Get your graph paper out, P-dubs. Jim Harper says, James uncovers everything. J Rod says, finally, yes, we're getting some new and interesting XLs. Wait, is WrestleFest also Supreme? Don't jump ahead, John Jay. We're getting there. Biggie says, these are a must buy. James is 5'9". Nope. Steve, thanks for joining us. Where is that Costco source to tell us if it's in the inventory system? I maybe have to reach out there. NASA Canes fan says, is there any information on the PCBs so we don't get the same problems as A1up and Tempest cabs? Unfortunately not. I want to thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. You don't need to keep super chatting. I'll try to make sure I'm reading all your comments and looking for questions like this. So I don't have any information on the PCBs at this time. Just know that obviously Basic Fun has produced Home Arcade, the Arcade Classics lines before. So they have people that they work with to develop PCBs and things like that. What we do know, right, is what's been said in that article. There is no online play. So in this first round of cabs, no online. So I don't know if that's a deal breaker for you. For me, I don't really play online to begin with. Um, I don't mind scores for online, but the way they're implemented in Arcade One Up isn't good anyway. Because like once a few people dominate the scoreboard, you're never going to get there because you know it's just crazy. And they don't do any like daily or weekly scoreboards. You don't have the ability to compare yourself to your friends, like say they can do in Pinball FX VR. So the implementation of high scores in Arcade One Up isn't even good to begin with. So for me, no Wi-Fi is not a big deal. Certainly, it would be great to have Wi-Fi for WrestleFest because who wouldn't want to do like a big, Royal Rumble with all your friends and stuff? But a big tag match, right, with 4 players. But maybe someday, right? Maybe someday. But um, does WrestleFest have more than one game on it? So, Milkman reading from the script and giving me a perfect opportunity to make that transition. So, my source tells me that, how do I word this? That um, WrestleFest Ultra has 6 games on it. So that's the 2-player version, right? That's the 2-player version you've seen. Let me drop this down a minute. So this is the WrestleFest Ultra. I think the cornercade correctly predicted or assumed that this is the Ultra, and that is indeed the Ultra cab. And you can see it's just got the 2 buttons. I am told this one has 6 games on it. I do not, unfortunately, have the games list on this one, but the game count is 6. So, very interesting. The BME says the chat is 100% on fire and I'm falling behind. When will these be for sale? These are all coming out Q4 of this year, Biggie. So, retailers, direct to consumer, you're going to find these at lots of different places. And as noted in the article, some of these, like, I don't know, maybe the Atari one, maybe some of the others, are going to have exclusive skins at some retailers. So not only will retailers have, say, maybe there's only one retailer to get your Supreme a Centipede from, there may also be only one retailer that has a uh, asteroids version, or who knows, right? So they've mentioned that there will be exclusives at different retailers. I don't know what that looks like. Don't have any information there. So just guessing on that part. But look for that. Um, glad we've had 6 streams on these 4 picks, indeed. No VR compatibility. Definitely not. Um, are these going to be at Walmart? Unknown yet. Obviously, Basic Fun sells all kinds of stuff at Walmart, Target, Macy's, you name GameStop, you name it. Basic Fun is sold in all major retailers. Remember, these are the guys that do Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, Care Bears, just a whole host of brands. And so they have the partnerships and relationships with retailers all over. So expect these things to start popping up everywhere, or almost everywhere, that sells like electronics and big toys like these. Um, I am also hoping for a BOE monitor. Um, Vertical monitor swap will likely be possible, just like any of the Arcade One Ups, or other cabs, right? They've done monitor swaps on iArcade. They've done monitor swaps on um, the Unico thing, so all over. So let's see. It's a 4-player. So let's talk about that for a minute. Get hyped. WrestleFest has more games. What Walmart will these be in? Good question. Probably the toy aisle. Who knows? So let me take this down a minute. And all right, add this back up. So, of course, this was another photo that Danny found somewhere on the internet yesterday. And so I thought I'd show it again. It's just another angle of that 4-player WrestleFest. with the red trim, not to be confused with the Ultra. So why am I showing this? So mainly what I want you to do is take a look at the guy playing. And then I want you to recall the photo earlier from Toy Book that I told you to pay attention to those two guys playing. What do you see here? Not only do we have 4 players, we have a coin door and we have extra buttons. So one could probably surmise that this is indeed a Supreme WrestleFest, that this is XL size with 4 players, with the control panel, or coin door, I mean, and potentially more games. Now, the only one I know how many games there are in is the Ultra. But so potentially, because we're seeing extra buttons, you can probably guess there's probably a few more titles on here, or at least one that requires some extra buttons. So very interesting. So right now, I think you can pretty much guarantee that this is another Supreme cab. And so not to leave you hanging and thinking I'm just kind of pulling this out of my rear end. There's those other pictures. Here is a bit of the box to the WrestleFest Ultra. And you can see Arcade Classics Ultra Series, 61.5-inch. You can see 17-inch monitor here. So that's intentional. We got some speaker grill covers. So I think if you look at these, it's hard to tell, but there's no grill covers on this prototype. But we do have these things. So there's still 2 buttons, right? You can see the deck looks maybe a little different, but for the most part, this is the same as that prototype that was shown. And unfortunately, I can see a games list just off to the side here. We can't see it. But you can see there's the 6 things, and my source confirmed there are 6 games on this cab, and they're listed right here. So maybe you can see a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Maybe you can hunt down what those 2 titles might be based off of just this little, I don't know, looks like a bee's butt and some sort of black and gray square. Zoom in here, so there's your what looks like a bee's butt and a black and gray square. So I'm sure somebody's gonna uncover this. But here you go. You've got your 17-inch monitor. You got your light up marquee. I think that's what this symbol is. It's a light up marquee. You've got it's got speakers. Assume this means it's got a plug. I don't know why you advertise that it's got a plug. 1 to 2 players, 61.5 inches, Ultra Series. There you go. So WWE WrestleFest, that is what our packaging is looking like for this one. And you can see ooh, what do we got here? There's definitely a games list right there. Any eagle-eyed viewers tell what those are? Because I can see them, but I don't know what they are. They're so blurry. But I'm sure somebody will take a little time and figure this out. So there you go. 6 games, WrestleFest. And if I were a betting man, it looks like this was probably taken at the same place that other picture of maybe the Supreme was taken at. I don't know that for a fact, but you got all these different toys back here. So there you go. So hot off the presses, Ultra Series, 61.5 inches tall, no coin doors as we suspected, 17-inch monitors, 6 games on the WrestleFest, Supreme Series, 67 inches tall, going to have more games for WrestleFest, but who knows how many. You've got the 14 games on the Centipede, which also appears to be available, or is definitely available in the Supreme Series, may also be available in the Ultra Series. So more info, more cred, and again, can confirm 100% Basic Fun and Arcade1up are not besties. They are not working together. They are competitors, and Basic Fun is taking advantage of their weakness. This is why Basic Fun says they're confident that their controls are better than Arcade1up's, that they're confident that they can be the number 2 home arcade player in their first year. Arcade1up has sold 4 million cabs. It's going to take a bit of doing to become number 1, but they're coming out of the gates. Basic Fun is on freaking fire, ready to light up the entire market. Some banger titles that we've heard about. Hopefully, they come to fruition and get shown soon. You know, of course, what was announced at Toy Fair was Turtles, Pac-Man, Star Wars, you know, a whole host of stuff that we could be getting by the end of the year, and then rolling into next year, some sort of shooting cab, some sort of driving cab. So the future with Basic Fun appears bright. And I, for one, am fired up. I'm glad to see we have confirmation now that Ultra is the deluxe line, equivalent to the deluxe line, and Supreme is equivalent to the XL line. And we are going to get more XL cabs. So they're meeting consumers where they want, something Arcade1up never really did very well. They're saying, if you just want a countercade because you have a small space, we got you. They're saying, if you want to continue building out your 3/4 scale and that's your sweet spot, we got you. You want to do XLs, you want a more arcade-like experience, we got you. Pretty exciting, pretty interesting. I can't wait to see where these go and when these get launched. Of course, now we know $599. They told us price points from $179.99 to $599. That $599 price point is your Supremes, it's your XLs, which is right in line with what Arcade1up is charging. So we don't know exact prices of these Ultras, but betting they're going to come in at or below what Arcade1up is trying to do. So pretty cool. We'll have to wait and see exactly on the pricing, but very excited from what we're seeing and where this is going. So I'm fired up. I don't know if you guys are. Is that an HDMI on the WrestleFest? I don't know where you're looking. I do see the power plug right down here. It just looks just like a power cord to me, not necessarily HDMI. But man, if they had HDMI, wouldn't that be cool to finally be able to start streaming? That's a promise Iconic Arcade made. Would be super cool if Basic Fun did that, because man, streaming this stuff would be a ton of fun. Let's see if we come up here. Yeah, same symbols. So no HDMI symbol that I can see. But pretty exciting. I know I'm fired up. Let's see. GameStop MK8 Deluxe Tourney and Trivia before the launch. Just going to get my console and free Red Bull. Nice. So Switch 2, yeah, just a couple days away. Finally got my Target shipping notice, and supposedly it's going to get here by 5 p.m. on release day. So I can live with that. Won't get it first thing in the morning or at midnight, but you know, what were the odds that was going to happen anyway? Wasn't Royal Rumble WWF? It absolutely was MG. And if you can find the logo, maybe we can see on there if one of these looks like Royal Rumble. Like that second one could be. It's hard to tell. No problem. Appreciate that. So that's the extent of the new info I have. The info I can confirm, once again, can confirm 100% Arcade1up and Basic Fun are not besties. There's no relationship there, and we've got some good stuff coming. Now I'm going to remove this, and as I promised Geo I would do, I'm going to pull up the video he sent me. And I know he's been working on this for a bit, and he's been sharing some progress, and it's been super duper exciting. Um, sorry, I'm saving some of the images he sent. So, first thing I want to do is actually show the image he sent because he sent an image first. Let's see. I'll just do it as a. And Geo is still here. So, guys, definitely hang around while I work this out because it's going to be worth it. I think it's super exciting. And hat tip to Geo, he's doing some great work. So I'll peek around the corner here. I don't know which way. All right, here we go. So Pack and Groove, Rhythm Action, a fan created Pac Man theme for Project Outfox. Of course, he's got exclusive art by Geo himself. Under no circumstances should you or anybody shove this theme onto a public arcade cabinet to make money. Basically, saying this is just doing this for the love of rhythm games and the love of Pac Man. Of course, all original art by Geo himself. So very cool. It's been fun watching him work on this in the discords and posting stuff as he shares his progress. And let me see if I can get this video clip loaded in here or if I have to play it a different way. Okay, perfect. It's loading, Geo. So just a moment and it'll be up. Super WrestleMania for the SNES. I kind of wish, and it's not on there because there's not enough buttons, but man, I really, really want that Midway WrestleMania at some point. Uh, New Coke was a huge success. I clicked the wrong one. Mike of all trades says, I like IRS and Papa Shango. And 8-bit music, Geo says. All right. It's still processing, so we have to give this a little bit. So perfect time to continue reading chat. Israel Gaming says, I'm going for Mario Kart World Bundle. Who else is with me? So I did the regular Switch, but I bought physical Mario Kart World. Can't wait to play. Let's see. Good analogy, MG. New doesn't mean it's better. And he says, now that's popped in my head. Is that one's logo Super WrestleMania since it's a 2-button game? Interesting. Darren Kane says, I just got here. Sorry. We'll definitely watch the replay. Well, thanks for dropping by, Darren. Always good to get your input as a former A1up employee yourself. And it seems like maybe a former ThinkUp employee may be working with Basic Fun. There was 2 Royal Rumbles, one for Sega and one for Nintendo, which had different rosters. Then there was a Rage in the Cage for Dreamcast. Any thoughts on what the B one might be? Like that's not one I recalled. And quick searches isn't really showing much of anything. Have to dig into that one later. Little hints there. Where are we with this processing of the video? Alrighty. Oh, I think we're good. All right. It's going to be showtime. So you guys let me know if you cannot hear this. It is definitely worth the wait. Where do we go? All right, here we go. He's got nice 8-bit look. All right, so you guys get the idea. It wouldn't let me fast forward past all the playing to get to the end of the song. So sorry about that, Gio. But you guys can see that thing is he's doing an amazing job. If you're a fan of rhythm games and lover of Pac-Man, I don't know that you could do a better job of this. So hat tip to Gio, man. Like you're doing a hell of a job on this. And I know you've talked to me earlier about trying to do a Mugen version of Home Arcade, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But I will tell you, after talking with you, seeing your comments about it, I have jumped into open bore. So who knows? Maybe we'll see a Home Arcade beat 'em up in the future. Uh, you know, who knows? We'll see. Should be interesting. But thanks for sharing that. Like I said, guys, like pay attention to what he's doing. It's really cool. Love what he's working on. Would make a cool home custom rhythm game in the future. So um, Israel says, dang it, now for some reason I want some Krispy Kreme donuts, some Pac-Man once in particular. Yeah, the attention to detail Geo put in there, from the graphics to the animations to, of course, those classic arcade sound effects. Again, great job, Geo. So that's really all I got tonight. I want to thank everybody for dropping by, hanging out as we talked about who's really behind Basic Fun and share the details of the new Ultra Series and Supreme Series cabs. Hopefully, it's whet your appetite for what we can look forward to, and maybe there's something in there for all of us. Maybe not. Who knows? I'm certainly excited. I haven't met anybody that isn't very excited about WrestleFest. I think most people are like, wow, this is something we thought would never happen. I've seen some people that maybe WrestleFest isn't their favorite game in the world, but they're just excited to see that somebody's bringing something actually new to the space. And so it's pretty interesting. And who knew, like when we started this year, we were all excited. Then the tariff terror happened. And it seemed like we had nothing to look forward to, that the tariffs were going to steal Christmas like the Grinch. And now we're staring back at, you know, Iconic is going to come out in October timeframe. We've got Basic Fun dropping a bunch of new cabs in October. We've got Glenn's Build-A-Cade FU going on pre-order this month, or Kickstarter this month. We've got G.I. Joel working on some crazy Nintendo style cab. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Mike of all trades says, James, wait, what is up with this fabled Nightcrawler statue I keep hearing about? I have no idea. No idea, Moat. I will tell you, I picked me up some of them retro New Hope Kenner toys exclusive at Target today. So I'm pretty excited. I finally was able to get those ordered and get some in here. So those have been like pulling teeth to find. No, MG, most definitely not. Um, Mine arrived tomorrow. Wow, that was quick. I think mine don't show up until Friday. But that's awesome. You must live very close to wherever they ship from. So, once again, want to thank everybody for being here. We've gone just about an hour, and I know other people are streaming tonight. So, hopefully, you enjoyed the news. Write it down. Have a great evening. And you know what we do here. Till next time, have fun.